And in art, I think that that's where we shine, humans, is the irreverence and the boldness.
Hmm. Absolutely. And you teach that, you know, to your students, your Electrify Your Symphony program. Just in case anyone has never heard of it, can you give us kind of the 30-second elevator pitch? And then I'd like to talk a little bit about what you had to do because of COVID lockdown for that program. And now that we're coming out of COVID, hopefully, fingers crossed, how are you moving on from there?
Absolutely. And the Electrify Your Symphony for almost 25 years, when I was performing with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the Rock Roll Hall of Fame, a string teacher came up to me and asked me to form a Trans-Siberian Orchestra in her high school. And from Juilliard on, schools, four walls, sounded like a prison school. So
Yep.
for me to return back into that, and of course, the second I walked in, it's like, oh, this is where I need to be with teenagers, not as much college students, but teenagers at that moment were up for anything. And I was like,
Right.
oh, really? Okay, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. So that redefined it. And 25 years later, we have dozens and dozens and dozens of rock orchestras, electric ensembles that partner with our classical heritage. Jason, we spoke about, Mark, you're so radical and this and that. My technique, my ears, my discipline, it all came from my classical training.
Hmm.
So it's never about, well, I'm pushing this all aside. I'm going to reinvent the way, this and that. The most traditional things sometimes are the most useful. So we'd never throw away something that's actually a benefit to our playing. So
Right.
it was never that. It was expressing who Mark was. When we go to the school, so Electrify Your Symphony, we're traveling around the world.
Hmm.
Poland, Australia, Europe, United States. In our heyday, which was right before the pandemic, we were doing 150 schools a year. And I'm flying around the country. I'm in hotels, I'm renting cars, airports, school, performance, 2-day workshop. Come on, kids, we have a rock concert tomorrow night. We can do it. We have 24 hours to do something that is historic. And I tell them about that. Why are we doing this, Mark? This is a moment where we can actually redefine the way people think. And with students and schools and education, that to me is everything. It's not just learning the basics of reading and writing and the basic concepts, but in art, we should not be ever really only taught what was done.
Right.
We must be taught, well, now that we've learned about this wonderful 400-year heritage of classical music and string playing, that's awesome celebration. I'm playing in tune. I know how to hold my bow. I got it. I got it. Okay, now what do we do? I don't know. Play some weddings and play Pachelbel's canon for the
Yeah.
rest of your life. What? No way, man! I can play pretty good. I can get around my Stravinsky and Bartok and classical music. But now, what does Mark do, or what does a musician do, is really where everything happens. And when I talk to the students, the first thing we do actually is we talk to each other. I ask them to do 30 seconds of your story. Who are you? Where do you live? Who are your influences? Tell me about yourself verbally. After we go through that, I say, now tell me about yourself through your music. And that's when all of a sudden the sheer terror comes on their faces and they're
That.
like, what does that mean? Well, check this out. I'm going to play for you and I'm going to show you who I am, but I'm not going to use words. I'm going to use music. And you're going to get an impression of me and I'm going to improvise. And by the way, when I'm finished improvising for 60 seconds, don't ask me to play it again because I will never be able to play it. What you just heard me improvise never exists in the world at that moment. So understand the powerful ambiguity, spontaneity, and beauty of just spur of the moment thinking. And in the music world, of course, it exists in rock and jazz and hip hop and African music and Indian music. The only place it does not exist is in our classical world. And that's absolutely fine. God bless them all. But that wasn't me at all.
Right. And I love how, if you watch any of the videos about what you do, you get the kids up out of their chairs, sometimes out of the classroom, and they're waving their bows around. and they're dancing and moving,
And
and
Jason, you know what I
so
said?
great.
Get rid of the music stand. What?
Exactly.
Get rid of the music stands. I said, what band have you ever seen with music stands? The Foo Fighters, the Led Zeppelin, they
Right.
don't have music stands up, man.
Right.
So 99% of the world, Jason, understand this, 99% of the world function as musicians. Indian music, African, Celtic music is not done with notation.
Hmm.
You know, it's notated, of course, and of course, I love notation.
Right.
But the world functions from Billy Joel to Led Zeppelin to Miles Davis to jazz to hip hop. No, they don't notate this when they're working. They're doing it by ear.
Right.
And that is really where it changed my life when I worked with musicians. And Mark, play something for me. Show me what you can do. And I'm like, I can play a scale. You went to Juilliard, Mark, and you can't play one note of your own? And boy, that hit me like a ton of bricks.
I bet.
That changed everything.
So when COVID hit, obviously schools were closed.
Yeah.
So the kids weren't there. You couldn't go there. So you had to modify your program and go online, correct? And that probably was difficult because you're all about interaction. So it's not as easy when you're online. How did that work? Did you figured out how to make it work, didn't you?
Yes, it was 48 hours of fetal position under the bed. Like everybody, I was like,
Right.
what? We're stuck in Arizona, and where were we? Phoenix. We had a big concert the next day, and the rehearsal was that day. Big concert with band, choir, orchestra. We had been rehearsing. We'd been doing all sorts of stuff. Gone. And then in 48 hours, the entire year's bookings were up in the air,
Right.
and then canceled, of course, eventually. So after we recovered from the reality that every small business, because remember, we have employees, I have an assistant, we have 10 employees building my violins. I mean, I didn't want to lay off any of them because that was shut down my business.
Right.
But the educational outreach was really disappointing because we started to see how teachers were challenged beyond words. And then we had the summer camp happening in 3 months, which was live in Kansas City for 10 years, and we couldn't do it live. What are we going to do? So we developed this wonderful platform that was actually, I'm guessing maybe 25%, Jason, is now going to be used forever in my
Really?
system. Zoom. There were certain things that we could do when we isolated the students a little bit,
Hmm.
and they were in their room. Some were in a classroom with social distancing with masks on. So we really had to devise an invigorating, exciting, motivating moment on a screen. And it was a total success. And
That's
then the year started in September. I was like, oh boy, are we going to have to do this for schools? And then in the last 6 months, from January to about May, we connected with about 120 schools, and we focused on the YouTube videos. That's our concert. We can't be in a concert hall. So
Right.
we're going to put a camera on you. And by the way, kids, you've been doing it on social media, on TikTok and Instagram for
Right.
years. So I'm sure this is not something that's totally new. And Jason, 10 years ago, if this happened, without Zoom and without the ability
Right.
of social media, oh,
Just be
I have
gone,
no idea
right?
how we've done it. But with TikTok and social media and these kids being really, really savvy more than us of filming themselves, I said it's exactly like that. But what we need you to think about is it's your audience. And by the way, you can do several takes. You can do it, play it 10 times, film it 10 times, and get the best performance where when we do it live and we're doing my song, and if it's not up to par, we are not stopping and doing
Right.
it over again. We're going on. So it was an interesting moment for us to say, okay, how much polishing can you do, students, to make that level 10, the highest level of mastery of the instrument? Because if you're a level 5 in a live situation, you're being blended with other players who are slightly better than you. So you can sort of hide behind it. You don't have to work as hard. All right, I hit a wrong note. All right, I hit it. This is a little out of tune. Whatever. The kid next to me is a little bit better. He's covering up for my mistakes. That is a live situation. You cannot hide on video solo. So we did workshops, performance workshops. We did choreography. We talked to the kids about This is your audience right here, you
Hmm.
know, the camera. And they understood that. And you can't sit there like a lump
Right.
sawing. Kids, look at this video of this kid being bored. Oh yeah, yeah, no, 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 none of that. How can you get dolled up? Get a nice shirt on. Exude a personality. What does that mean? Oh well,
Right.
guess what? You have a personality and a story that's different than everybody. How do we get that out of your instrument and out of your voice? So that was a really big. So we did eight. I think it was 8,500 students in
Wow.
5 months. I had 10 workshops a day. So we were able to help these incredible teachers who are struggling. How are the teachers? You know, a lot of the string programs we lost and teachers
Right.
just quit.
Yep. And students
I'm
quit their
retiring
instruments
or I'm
too.
quitting.
A lot of students I
Yeah,
know quit. They didn't want
it
to
was
do over Zoom, maybe,
it was a
every day.
catastrophe.
Yep.
Yeah, Jason, it was a catastrophe
Absolutely.
um, that could have been even worse if we didn't come in. And the accolades that we had from the parents and the teachers, thank you for it, because my kid would have stopped playing
Right.
if we didn't have this because we couldn't do it much in the classroom and no concerts. So it was really successful. Now, as we're going back to normal, we're providing a video experience for the kids, a master class before I even come so that they can get revved up. And then we come in and they do the live concert. We film the concert, stream the concerts, and they're always talking about the visual performance of our work.
Mhm.
And that's where we're separating ourselves very unconsciously, not on purpose, but the traditional orchestra setting is not set up the way we are setting it up.
Mhm.
We are disrupting that whole industry. We have everybody facing forward. The orchestra is not in an oval with a conductor.
Ah,
We've removed the conductor. The teachers are actually playing their instruments in the orchestra, but everybody faces forward and everybody's standing up except our cellos. And the kids, and I tell them constantly, who are you playing to? Are you
right.
playing to that music stand? That music stand does not like you, nor does it care about you, nor is it going
Right.
to applaud you. It is in the way. So why don't we do this? And some programs actually memorize the entire program, and that's awesome.
Right.
But some of the kids are nervous about memorizing, so I lower the music stands. Everybody lower the music stand. I don't want to see anything, and I need eye contact. When you have repetition, you have 8 bars of the same rhythmic pattern, memorize it.
Mhm.
It helps your brain activity. It helps everything. And while you're memorizing, I want eye contact. When I walk over to you, I want you to look me right in the eye and play.
Mhm.
Now that's a very interesting scenario that does not exist in the traditional symphony orchestra.
Mhm.
Our peripheral vision is watching the conductor,
Mhm.
but pretty much our eyes are watching all those complicated notation.
Right.
So someone says, Mark, we got to memorize the rite of spring. I ain't doing that. So with American music styles outside of classical music, let's explore this concept of memorization, eye contact. I bring out assorted students every song, and they are performing alongside of me. And I constantly remind them, who are you playing to? See that person way out in the balcony? We're playing for that person. If you cannot connect with that person, guess what? That person falls asleep.
Right.
That person leaves the concert before it's over and they're not cheering you. So we need to activate that audience participation that exists in other styles of music.
Great. And I was going to ask what you took away from COVID. As you said, you are incorporating some of that online
Yeah.
YouTube aspect. Now, just a little teaser here. I know that you're also working on a television show that incorporates the program, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, can
And
you tell
Jason,
us anything about that?
well,
Just a
what's
little bit.
really interesting, the pandemic was the ultimate disruptor
Yes.
of all industries, from real estate to television. Out of nowhere, Netflix becomes the biggest supplier of content on TV because we ain't going to a movie theater. All of a sudden, it disrupted that. So that was a really interesting moment to see. And the kind of disruption that we had in the music industry really changed everything. So we are now shopping my TV show not to CBS and NBC anymore
Mhm.
because they are not relevant.
Right.
So we're now going to Hulu, we're going to Apple TV, and we're streaming more than doing theater stuff or television stuff. So we're looking at possibly owning the streaming service and remaining ownership and just partnering with a platform. So we'll let you know. It's